Let me bring in Fiifi Boafo to answer the questions that you've been asking. Fiifi, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Why were you not able to raise syndicated loan in the year 2024 that we understand is partly to blame for where we are today?
That is inaccurate. It is inaccurate because government took a decision. And before I even go into government decision, I think it is one of the conversations that has taken place in our media space for so long. Anytime COCOBOD will go for syndication. And the question is, why must COCOBOD always go for a syndication after 30 years of doing syndication? So government took a decision that can we find different means of raising funds for the purchase of cocoa. And I think we took a decision, and the decision was that we'll have a discussion with the off-takers who will bring in money, this 60-40 model, and make sure that we buy cocoa, avoid going through the syndication model, which was costing us a minimum of about $54 million in terms of interest, and use a different means of buying cocoa. To those who say that not going for syndication is the reason why we are here, refer them to 2024-2025 cocoa season. Indeed, in 2024-2025 cocoa season, is the same model we are using today. That's the model we used in 2024-2025. And indeed, let me explain that 2024-2025, NPP managed a bit of it, and the NDC managed the remaining part of it. We did not experience what we are experiencing today. So it is not because the funding model has changed, and that is why farmers are not getting paid. It is because some negligence on the part of the new managers of COCOBOD. That is why we are here. And I find it very, very worrying listening to Shamima, my sister, explaining why we are here. I know Shamima doesn't work at COCOBOD. She is only stating these information, sharing out this information because she has been briefed. And the worrying aspect is that the true situation has been hidden from Shamima, who is at the presidency. So she does not appreciate the enormity of the problem, the real situation we find ourselves in, the hole that the new management have dug and put us in as a country. The presidency is not getting the information.
Well, we'll get a Fiifi, but we'll get a Fiifi. But she again says you left a debt that they had to come and pay. For example, you gave contract of more than 333,769, but you were only able to supply a little over 200,000. That was a debt they had to pay.
I think that people at COCOBOD, the chief executive, and the people who work at COCOBOD now, must get this thing. They were not appointed to go and enjoy the perks of office only, but they were appointed to and take responsibilities as executives of the cocoa industry. They make it look like this is the first time where COCOBOD has issues. Indeed, in 2017, when the management of COCOBOD took over at the time, COCOBOD had syndicated for $1.8 billion, which was meant for the purchase of 850,000 metric tons of cocoa.
Okay.
At the time management took over, the 1.8 billion had been expended with cocoa purchases around 500,000 metric tons. Did the management of COCOBOD at the time say that, they use all the money, so the cocoa industry must grind to a halt, farmers will not get paid? No. Management had to find a means of paying cocoa farmers and getting the industry to run, and not grinding to a halt like we are experiencing today.
But that doesn't make it right, Fiifi, does it?
I am making a point.
Okay.
If you indulge me. Unfortunately, I had to stay on for about 14 minutes listening to Shamima, even though I'm not in the studio and I have to engage other media houses.
Okay.
I am only making the point that if you are a manager, your responsibility is to take on the situation and find solutions to it and not to always continue. Why did we have rollover contract? Randy Abbey makes it look like as if rollover contract is a novelty now. Rollover contract, my memory serves me right, has been part of COCOBOD for many years. this is how rollover contracts are like. Every year, COCOBOD will have a research department go out there and do a forecast. The forecast will project probably 850,000 metric tons, 600,000 metric tons. That is the basis for COCOBOD to go out there and contract with buyers. Sometimes the forecast, they get it wrong. And when they do get it wrong, and for example, they project that, okay, we'll produce 850,000 metric tons. And at the end of the year, if you produce 650,000 metric tons, it means that the contract you have signed, you will not be able to deliver all that contract. So what you do is that you roll over those contracts and you repay based on cocoa production the subsequent years. So it is not new. Indeed, in 2017, when the MPP administration took over, there were several of such rollover contracts, and even one of them, the company took COCOBOD to arbitration. COCOBOD lost the case, and COCOBOD had to pay 7.5 million euros. So if Randy Abe makes it look like it's the first time there's a rollover contract, and because of that, somebody has done something terrible, and everything must be explained with rollover contract, I am sorry, he has a responsibility, and he should stop lamenting and address the challenges they face. They are talking about debt. The debt they are creating now will be the worst cocoa industry has seen. And let me go straight to that point. Management of COCOBOD. Tamima was talking about the fluctuations within the cocoa pricing system. Yes, it happens. And that is a reason why every year, before the producer price review committee was set a cocoa price, COCOBOD would have done substantial forward sales of cocoa to know that, okay, if we have sold, for example, 70% of the crop, we know very well that, okay, this is how the average F will be achieved. So with the 30%, 20% remaining, we can safely project that this is how much we'll pay the cocoa farmer. And these are the other industry costs. So if we give the farmer this amount as the farm gate price, we will be able to pay the cocoa farmer. Unfortunately, the politicization by the NDC of the cocoa industry, they decided not to do the forward sales anymore, and they described it as a bad policy. Came in and decided to sit and sell cocoa at the spot price. This was against sound technical advice that if you just wait and sell spot, the market will overtake you and you lose out. Unfortunately for us, this happened at the time where the world market price is at the all-time high. We have seen prices hovering between 9,000 to 12,000. And they said no, they were not going to sell. The admonition at the time was that make sure you take advantage of the price. And indeed, even at the time, they were announcing cocoa price. The world market price was over 8,000. They refused to sell forward at that time. And they have waited till today, where the world market price of cocoa is around 4,300. Just do a small calculation. If we have 500,000 metric tons of cocoa unsold, and the price has dropped about $4,000, multiply $4,000 by 500,000 metric tons. And I'm not giving out these figures out of my head. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I know the stocks they have available, which they have not touched, and how much they are expecting to come in. So you multiply 500,000 metric tons, multiply it by $4,000, and that is how the recklessness on the part of the management of COCOBOD has caused us as a country. Instead of addressing this issue, they just want to at least blindfold us with, oh, there was debt, there was debt, there was debt. That it was not as a what we are facing today is not as a result of that. What we are facing today is because management of COCOBOD set cocoa price at 5,040. Instead of making sure that they will be able to sell cocoa, make the $5,040, pay the cocoa farmer, pay other industry costs, they sat down, engaged in needless and unnecessary fight and power struggle between the chief executive of COCOBOD and the managing director of the cocoa marketing company. Did not pay attention to what was happening on the market. Stood, watched negligently. So this time where cocoa price has dropped to 4,300, what then will happen is that any contract signed at this time will not be able to pay the 5,040 that the farmer and the industry cost is required to service the industry.
Okay.
So now they are unable to sell.
So what should be the way forward?
We have hundreds of thousands of cocoa in warehouse and now they cannot sell.
So what should be the way forward?
Shamima told you what the problem is and what is the way forward. Because of this negligence on the part of COCOBOD management, we either have to ask government to shore up the difference by subsidizing or reducing the cocoa farmers' price. Two things. I do not think that the cocoa farmer must suffer because the farmer is not the one who decided that despite established tradition, the cocoa marketing company must have a cocoa board staff and a cocoa trader heading the institution, giving technical advice to the chief executive. The farmer is not the one who decided to go and bring a presidential appointee to come and sit there to fight the chief executive, such that a critical part of COCOBOD, the sales executive committee, that is supposed to set price. Because the chief executive is fighting the managing director, they can't have this executive committee meeting to look at the trends and decide that we must sell at the right time to make the best out of the market for the Ghanaian cocoa farmer.
All right. Okay, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Fiifi Boafo,
let me make a point.
former head of
should just go back to the figures he was quoting. At a point, he was talking about COCOBOD owing $34 million and then converted it, and then it becomes $34 billion. Then she converts it and it becomes $10 billion and all that. That is not accurate. The COCOBOD net debt at the time of the current debt at the time is not the figures she's quoting.
At what time?
They've given her a lot of figures. She may have to take a time and go through them again. But Kudo, to make the point, we are here because the management of COCOBOD negligently failed to take advantage of the market price. And why did they even take the price at 5,040? It is because they knew that they will be able to achieve that price. And you can only do that when you have done some sales, and that sales will guide your decision. So where they took the decision without knowing that this is how the markets will go.
Thank you.
And for which reason they have stood on, looked on unconcerned, allowed the price to drop from 8,000 to 4,000, and now they are asking the cocoa farmer to suffer for it. And for 3 months, management have not been able, together with their board, they've not been able to fashion out a means of addressing the problem.
I'm grateful to you.
They can go on and go to the people at the presidency, like my sister Shamima, and give them a different story. But the truth is that they have allowed the price to drop from 8,000 to 4,000, and now they cannot sell because when they sell, we will lose.
I'm grateful.
And why would we allow this to happen to us?
I'm grateful to you. Fiifi Boafo is former head of public affairs at COCOBOD.